This week really felt like a turning point. We did a major garden reset. We managed to get some more of our fruit trees in the ground, and we even had the first seedlings sprouting. So join us as we have a bash on our homestead in Yorkshire. Monday caught me by surprise because of the bank holiday. Now, I always make a roast dinner on a Sunday, and we usually have a bit of an afternoon off, but since the weather was so nice last week and I had silly amounts of potting on to do, we decided to make Monday our Sunday. But when Monday came around, it was like my physical body knew it was in fact the start of the week and that, well, there's no rest for the wicked. So we ended up carrying on as usual. But of course, this meant that the planning and prioritising that I normally do on a Sunday hadn't been done. So I ended up walking out into the garden and spinning around in circles, wondering what to do. So instead of actually following a plan, I decided to let nature take her course and guide me to the jobs that I felt in the moment needed doing the most. One of the first things I noticed that gave me instant joy was the sprouting of our first golden beetroots. It really does remind you that warmer weather is on its way and it will soon be in full swing. I'm so excited to see what the garden brings this year. I kept looking around the garden and decided to start with something small, like the mint bed and these two beds that follow it on. I know I talk a lot in my videos about losing a sense of urgency when it comes to transition into a homestead life, but nature provides her own pressure to keep up because, well, when the sun shines after the rain, everything grows like wildfire, especially the weeds, and there is a deep energy radiating from the sun that kind of just kicks you up the butt and makes you feel ready to dive right in, like a little nudge to wake you from your winter slumber. The main thing that needed doing with these few beds is moving these alpine strawberries. We did originally plant asparagus in the middle square bed, but nothing seemed to grow, and I think it's because it was shaded by the tree that stands above it, which it looks sunny now, but when it's full summer, it's obviously full of leaves. So last year, this ended up just being somewhere for me to put random things that I didn't have space for. Here, there are actually tons of alpine strawberries, but you just can't see them for the weeds. And they didn't do too well in this bed either. And I think it's because that bed was here when we first moved here, and it's never really been conditioned or changed, and the soil is really compacted and damp. And from my experience, alpine strawberries love sandy, poor quality soil. So for now, because I don't have a bed that I want to allocate specifically to alpine strawberries, I'm popping them around the edges of the other beds to act as a kind of ground cover and let them grow into themselves. I do think I will use them as some kind of ground cover out in the trenches for the fruit bushes in the future, but again, I'm not quite sure yet. The first two beds are going to be filled with herbs, and this bed is going to be perennial flowers, just so that it's low maintenance and the flowers will come back every year. One of my favourite things about the country is the big blue skies that contrast against the green fields and the trees when it's sunny. And this week we were blessed with so much nice weather. It's hard not to be motivated when the sun shines so brightly. So Tuesday we decided to try and get some of these fruit trees in the ground. These fruit trees have been sat waiting for over a year because we missed the window on them last year. Now the ground in these pastures are heavy clay. So when it's winter, they are really wet and claggy, and when it's summer, they are bone dry and rock solid. So we really do only have a short window to get things in the ground down here. Last year we missed it because we underestimated how quickly it would change. So this year we tried to make a conscious effort to get them all in the ground. As you can see, the pots are really weedy and the trees are suffering because of it. So I just can't wait to get them all into their forever homes so that they can thrive and also give us fruit for many years to come. We managed to get 6 fruit trees in the ground that morning before realising it was far too warm for any of these kind of shenanigans. So we ended up mulching the ones that we planted last year and calling it a day. And I went back into the kitchen garden to see what else I could do. I decided to start on these two beds. Now, this first one is an annual flower bed, and this one is a perennial flower bed, which already has its flowers in. Now, I'm starting by topping up the end of the first bed, but first I need to move these two parsley that I really did expect to die over winter, but haven't, and now they're coming back stronger than ever. I don't know if you're supposed to keep parsley for a second year because it is classed as an annual, but it looks healthy and it still tastes okay, so I'm going to try my luck and move it to a different bed. I'm popping it in the corner bed where I planted some of the alpine strawberries yesterday, just because I know that it's quite shady and I know parsley doesn't mind a shady spot. So in this bed, I'm popping out calendula, borage and cornflower at the moment. Now I'm going to plan on harvesting some of these flowers to use in my herbal medicine cabinet, and I'm hoping that they will come back every year because they will self-seed despite being annual plants. So we'll see how we get on with that one. When I'd finally finished moving all the plants and setting those beds off, I decided to tackle this unsightly mess. Now, this has been bugging me all year, and it was bugging me last year as well. The plan in the long term is to scrape all the area back and level it out, and then maybe put a membrane down to suppress the weeds. Now, we do get conflicted because we do want a plastic-free garden, but we also have really prolific weeds in this area, so we're kind of just trying to figure out what the best thing to do is. Half of the garden does have membrane between the beds. Some of the beds even are lined with plastic at this stage because we made them before we went down the whole plastic rabbit hole. And then some of the garden doesn't have the membrane, and you can really tell. But this was one of those jobs that I knew would end up overwhelming me, so I did it for the afternoon and decided to down tools and just have a rest from it all. We didn't stick to our goal on Wednesday of getting some more fruit trees in the ground, but on Thursday morning it was cloudy and a lot cooler, so we managed to get another 4 in. We have 33 to get in total, so we decided if we do maybe 4 or 5 each day, then in 1 to 2 weeks we should have them all done. For the rest of that day, I very much spent a lot of time back in this section of the garden, moving all of the pots, putting all of the equipment away, getting ready to put the ground cover down later this week. Friday ended up being the day for getting things wrapped up and done for the week. One of the most beautiful aspects of this lifestyle is that nothing is ever really considered waste, unless it's plastic, of course. We use animal poop to condition the compost and the beds, and we can reuse the compost that comes out of last year's pots, obviously being mindful of where we put it. But everything that we do and that we produce comes back into this little ecosystem that we have on the farm and provides nourishment for next year's growth. It's fantastic, really, because it lets you notice just how connected everything is and how everything has its place. When you're stuck in the rat race, you don't make these connections and you don't really realize what's needed. One of the jobs I've been meaning to do for ages is sorting out this section of the garden because I need to relocate the nursery from the side of the polytunnel to make space for the cold frames going in. Now, I need to move all the plants into this section, which becomes the new nursery, but first everything needs clearing and weeding out of the way. One of my biggest problems at the moment is having loads of plants in the nursery and they're all kind of like jumbled up. So I don't know which is which or how much I've got for the fruit bushes or the garden or the bee space or anything like that. So I really did need to have a good sorting out of all of the plants to put them in the appropriate sections of where they're going to go in the garden, so that when I've got a spare hour on an evening or something like that, I can just come out, pick a few up and plant them in the ground. You all know my thoughts and feelings about keeping pots in plants for too long, and this is going to help me stay on top of getting those in the ground. If you don't know what you've got, it's hard to even make plans because you just can't see the woods for the trees. I really do think spring cleaning is an instinct sent from Mother Nature, because when the sun starts to come out again and you come out of hibernation mode, you do just get this urge to start sorting stuff out. Well, I do anyway. And it just sets you up for the year ahead. I feel like I need to get organised before I can really get stuck in. And by sorting out the garden and sorting out the plants, it's going to help me plan more effectively what I can do in the time that I've got available each week. This is a section that I've been working on clearing because hopefully I'm going to have a row of cold frames down the back of the fence line there. So in order to make that happen, I need to get all the plants out of here so that we can start bringing them in next week. One thing I will say though is that in the nursery you will always find dead plants, but just don't beat yourself up about it. This stuff happens, okay? Now, the rest of Friday was spent tackling this section of the garden, and I was determined to not let it spill into next week. Next week, I really want to focus on getting the remaining fruit bushes in the ground, and that is going to be a major task in itself because it's so weedy and so overgrown out there. So I really wanted to get stuck in with this all afternoon to make sure that I was free next week and not having this niggling away at my conscience saying that we need to finish this first. As I said earlier in the video, this section ideally needs scraping back and leveling out and doing properly, but we're still undecided as to what the big final plan is. So for now, I'm sticking this membrane down and securing it with old bricks just to make sure it doesn't fly away. And we're just going to leave it like this. We're not putting any wood chip down or anything like that. We're just keeping it like this for this year, which is low maintenance and easy to manage. That's all we've got for this week, but join us next week where we're going to be tackling this. This is our fruit bush garden that all needs trimming back so the bushes can breathe, and we've got another 75 fruit bushes to get into the ground. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.